What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Algorithm. It's episode 10, so we've done 10 of these now. And today we're going to be diving into a lot that's happened in just 1 month into 2026. I'm David Verjano, and I'm here with JC Perez. We're the team, part of the team behind Cultura Creative, and we love, doing these bi-weekly episodes because there's just so much that happens on a daily basis, really. But 2 weeks gives us a good gap to kind of like digest and understand like what's happening and forecast a little bit, but there's so many things happening that you really can't forecast too far into the future. JC, what's been on your mind lately? I got a couple things before we jump into the rundown here.
What's been on my mind is the chaos that we have as an agency right now, in a good way. But no, it's been. It feels like I saw somebody post the other day that January was a great year, and
Exactly.
It felt
how it feels.
It felt like January was an entire year. So nothing, man. We're going to continue the pace on kind of the wellness space and the nutrition and space, and that new year, new me. People are still kind of holding on to their resolutions. I think in March is when everybody starts to taper off, March and April into their New Year's resolution.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, it's top of mind for everybody. So we're excited to dive into that, and then excited to rip on some more Super Bowl ads. Maybe not rip on them, but definitely go into that and talk about it. So
Sure.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah. So let's put on the screen here the rundown for today. Really, the main thing is going off the heels of New Year's resolutions and all the health and wellness stuff that we talked about last time. We're seeing a little bit of a counter programming and a little bit of a different strategy from some brands, which is always something that I love to discuss. When people zigzag, and really the anti-resolution sentiment is something that we saw take a little bit more of a center stage from some of these brands, and it's going to be cool to highlight some of their campaigns and some of the marketing tactics that they did. Of course, this weekend being Super Bowl, we have a lot to talk about from that standpoint, because it is not only the ultimate game for football, but the ultimate stage for advertising. And even though there are some things that have changed over the years, it's still a lot of hype and a lot of attention around it. So what is the right approach? What are brands doing, and what to expect for this weekend's game and the ads that you'll be seeing? And then to kind of tie it together, we have the concept of third spaces, which isn't new, but also like this other concept of fourth spaces taking place, and how that is impacting just culture and society, and how people are engaging with these things, and how business can adapt and be ahead of it. And then lastly, wellness travel, right? Like the whole concept of experiences and how people are choosing to spend their time more and more on experiences over physical goods, and specifically injecting wellness into those experiences when you travel. So JC, anything you want to throw in here before we get into it?
How good are the Patriots in that organization, in that franchise? They're in the Super Bowl again.
For you to lose Tom Brady and lose your head coach and kind of be in this sort of rebuild phase for a little bit, and then find yourself right back in the Super Bowl not long after, is pretty impressive. To the dismay of us being Dolphins fans, we get to see them like leapfrog us, even though we're like, they're trying to punch up and beat the Bills for the AFC East. They're like, all right, never mind. I'm gonna scoot right by you guys and take the lead and end up in the Super Bowl. So yeah, it's a crazy kind of turn of events for them. But
that's all, man. I'm excited to continue to get into the wellness stuff.
For sure,
that space.
Yeah, so we'll start here with some of these campaigns that we saw. It's really like brands are rejecting this whole traditional new year, new you messaging that everything starts on the first, and just like making it seem like you need to transform yourself, or you need to like reset everything when January 1st hits. So brands are kind of taking a different approach, even though here in this case for Decathlon, the main call out is like, you can't return these shoes, and it's almost like holding you to like the accountability of a resolution. So it's like saying, hey, forget the BS of this resolution that you then fall off in 2-3 weeks into the month. It's saying like, hey, put your money where your mouth is. You can't return these shoes. From my understanding, you could still return them, but it has to be in February.
That's
but
fine.
but I think it's still a cool tactic to kind of put out. If they were serious about it, it would be like final sale, like you can't return them, and that'd be kind of like a cool, like serious way to punctuate the campaign. But either way, I think this is something that stands out because it really holds people to the fire and forces them. It creates friction, right? Like before, it was everything is like you could try them out, free, what is it called? Like guilt free, like you could return them, no questions asked, kind of thing. And now it's like, nah, you said you were gonna do this. Like, let's hold you to it. So I
Well,
think this is a really good example of a brand kind of like doubling down on that.
yeah, and I think not only doubling down, but brilliant tactically on the back end because, as everybody knows, especially like in the D2C world, January for returns is terrible. Like you get the
Mm-hmm.
returns, you get the Black Friday returns, and this is kind of like them skating that and in a very creative way, not giving you the ability to return it in January,
Yeah,
and all the numbers always point to the longer somebody has to take to return something, usually they never end up returning it.
yeah,
So I have to assume that in whatever meeting they were in when they came up with this, that was a point
for
uh,
sure.
of information that was given that kind of led them to this. So brilliant on so many levels.
Yeah,
I love this.
I agree. I think that it's a good way, especially like I'm not too familiar with decathlon, but I know that running and cross training and this kind of stuff is taking more of a center stage, and I think that they're doing a good job to like make themselves relevant with this kind of messaging and this kind of strategic you know perspective out there. Um, so then you have brands like Equinox, and I'll zoom in here so we can kind of really look at everything that's going on here. They're doubling down on the whole AI thing in the sense of like making fun of it, right? Like question everything but yourself, and clearly showing something that is AI generated versus a real person that has built their body. They're always been kind of more on the forefront of like um, egocentric side of it, I would say, right? Like they'll have these things plastered on the side of their buildings, on their windows, and it's always like someone that's really good looking and someone that has like a six pack and just like they look like they're models essentially. It's kind of like the aspirational aspect to go on Equinox, but I think this is a smart positioning statement. It kind of like latches on to what their identity already is, but then the current conversation point of AI, right? Like, what do you trust? And they're saying like, don't trust anything but yourself. So I think it was a good execution of what they've done in the past, and kind of like an updated version for today. What are your thoughts here?
Is that supposed to be Justin Trudeau?
Yes, that's
Is that,
Justin Trudeau.
is that
If
him?
you wanna, yeah,
That
they
looks like
actually did that.
that's so funny. And just a lot of questions there. But yeah, no, this is great. It's fantastic. I love poking fun at AI specifically, but I love poking fun at certain things, and it's all in the tagline, question everything. I love it, um, and we'll talk about it further. But I do love the marketing, some of these companies, and the creativity around kind of the drawbacks or what the community, what people are saying about AI. And I love that brands are finding a creative way of creating things on AI, but also poking fun at it and uh, being funny about it. So yeah, I like it a lot. I've
Yeah,
always liked Equinox's marketing. They've always been pretty solid.
yeah, they've always done something that's at least like stands out, and gets your attention. So I think it's like we'll see another example of this, but it is almost like it's a meta version, not Meta the company, but Meta in the sense of like we're gonna make fun of AI by using AI, right?
Correct.
So it's like
Love it.
you'll see that in another example that we have here. But I thought that was like a cool, execution there. This is the example specifically that I'm talking about, and it's a little spot with the Jonas Brothers and Almond Breeze, and they kind of like you'll see now in the pitch.
There you go.
Extra mangoes.
There they are, my boys and berries. Boys are back in town, guys.
Nate and Jane, you remember.
We're excited to hear these ideas you had.
Listen, gents, we're gonna jump right in. We know you're busy with the music stuff, and we love it. I'm a big fan. Bing-a-ling-ling, that's great. But we figured out a way for you to do even more work with less work.
What does that mean?
Joe, baby, I love that question. We're working on a brand partnership for a brand you love. Almond Breeze.
Almond Breeze.
We are thinking big stuff.
You said, are we going to write songs for Almond Breeze?
No. We are presenting Jonas Brothers in space. Check this out.
You're gonna
lose your minds.
You're gonna freak.
It's something. And when would we film this?
We shot it, Boomer. It's already
done.
shot. That's it. This is it. Less work.
I don't know if that creative is really kind of what we're thinking.
Different idea.
Yes.
Also ready for primetime primo.
Classy. High end.
Picture it. The art of vanilla.
Why are we shirtless? I mean, that makes sense, but the other stuff, I don't really...
Or we go a different way.
Okay. This clearly took you a while.
No. Can you imagine?
It's AI. We just kind of...
Clickety clack.
The cologne shirtless one was pretty good. Of course you like that one. If we're going to do a partnership with Almond Breeze, we'll just tell people it's really good.
Almond Breeze. It's really good.
It's really good.
That's really good.
It's really good.
Really, really good? No, really good. I right the first time. Write it down. Write it down. That's why they pay you the big bucks. We just made some magic.
Yes, to get...
So again, that whole narrative arc of the agency pitching, AI concepts. So they're using AI in the ad, but it's framed in a way like making fun of AI. So it's a really creative way to inject it without being too like, oh, we're using it without you knowing, essentially. So I think that's what we're starting to see from some of these brands, and I think those are two good executions of use of AI in a way that makes fun of AI.
So the anti-Coca-Cola, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like Coca-Cola did it and tried sweeping it under the rug, like, oh, you're not going to notice, even though the entire internet, especially the creatives, were like, yo, what is going on here? So
do you think we're gonna have like humans? We're gonna have an evolution of like we're gonna start to be able to pick up AI no matter what, no matter how good it is. Like that's gonna be wild.
I think we're humans are creatures of pattern recognition. So the more that we get exposed to it, the more we can spot things that look a little bit off or feel like that's not necessarily what a human would say or act or do. And as people just get used to a certain quality of video and footage and animation, I think you're just going to start noticing the things that are just a little bit off that you're going to be like, I don't know about that. Again, I still expect that AI is going to continue to get better and more realistic. I think it's going to get pretty damn close to what you see with CGI in videos and movies. But that's the suspense of belief. Essentially, you're gonna be like, yeah, the Jonas Brothers aren't in space. Essentially, even though if they made one that looked realistic, and then you're not gonna really care whether that was done with a guy that knows how to do VFX or a team, or it was prompted or partially a hybrid of both. So that's what I see happening on the AI front. I think these are just two good, timely executions, specifically in like the fitness and wellness and food side of things that we're starting to see. So
agreed.
Yeah. And then this other one is actually going the other direction. It's with everything being so fresh and new and innovations on, nutrition and science and AI. You have a brand like Momentous, I believe they partnered with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the whole concept is like trend proof, right?
I don't follow trends, I outlast them. They have been selling shortcuts since before I learned how to bench press. The miracle pill, the 6-minute solution, the next big thing. I've seen thousands and thousands of the next big thing. Fads explode, hype sells, and people buy. That's the way it works. But real progress doesn't trend, it endures. One rep at a time, one day at a time, again and again and again. It's not about the hype. It's about your commitment to quality. You want results? Stop chasing the new and start trusting the proven. Be trend proof.
So that's, I think, from a positioning standpoint, I think it's really smart for them to counter the whole trend thing altogether. Like, they didn't even talk about AI there. It was like just saying fitness trends and things that you see on the nutrition side. Like, it's true. You've seen all these fad diets and all these things come and go. And what better way than to get someone that's been through all of that and has like a track record of not being a fitness influencer because he was on camera only, but because he actually competed and put in the work and did all these things and ended up on camera, right? So I think it was a smart. I love seeing this kind of stuff too, where like you really go way back essentially and saying like, let's lean in on not just legacy, it's just like endurance and staying power and something that has like just that seasoned voice to really lean into and say, hey, this is who we are and this is what we're gonna lean behind it. And Momentous, you've seen their packaging and stuff. It's no frills. Like, it is very like clinical and straightforward, and like there's nothing flashy on it at all. It's very clean and minimal. So
yeah, and to their defense, they've always done this, right? They've always associated themselves with people that are no fluff, that are straight to the point. If not an investor, an owner, I know they've been very close with Huberman for a long time. So, they get it. They get the space, and it's the truth at the end of the day. Like, in a world that the algorithm is pushing you the latest trend, both on your socials, but also like Amazon. I see the behind the scenes on that world, and it's always about what's the latest herb or what's the latest trend on Amazon that's ticking, so that we as a nutrition brand, I'm saying any brand, can come out with, because that's what's going to be popping here in the next 6 months. Like, I think as a brand like Momentous, if you can take the opposite stance and say we're not that, we're not looking at the trends on Amazon, we're not looking at this, we just care about the real stuff. We care about what's right, and what you should be doing. And I think again, there's no better person to attach yourself to than Arnold. He's obviously put in the reps, a lot of them, millions of them. I'm actually reading his book right now. It's really good. But he's the best spokesperson for this type of marketing and this type of messaging. So I love it. I love him. I love the Momentous brand. You're on point. There are no frills. They're very simple, to the point, clinical. They don't screw around, but their products are really good. They're expensive, but they're really good. They're incredibly clean.
yeah.
And again, they've understood how to associate themselves in the market with those type of no bullshit people. So good for them. And I love this ad.
Yeah. And then to wrap up kind of this side of it, it's not really like an anti-resolution thing. I think this was just more like absurdist humor. And Perfect Snacks came up with this like very what do you say, like a Broadway musical style ad here, which I thought was hilarious. We'll see some of it at least.
They say the stars are out of reach, but here I stand in aisle 3. A shelf I cannot reach, but I can see a perfect bar I can never eat. I stand below the fluorescent glow, dreaming of a height I'll never know. A perfect bar, it feels so far, makes you realize just how short of a short king you are. Perfect bar company. Think about us, short kings. Perfect bar company. Think about us. Why do you put your bars way up so high? I'd like to know. We need the protein to possibly help us grow. Oh, who am I kidding? It won't help us grow. Don't make us come down to your corporate HQ. Thousands of short kings furious at you. We may not be big, we may not be tall, but if we don't put your bars on a lower shelf, we'll ball up our tiny little fist and give you the most adorable little beat down of your life. Think about us, short kings, perfect bar company. Think about us. Why do you put your bars way up so high? Please tell me why.
We'll pause it there. So, but I just thought it was such a funny kind of approach to, just going over the top, really, a whole musical act. Like some of the shots in there are actually really good in terms of like the way it's framed, right? Like the shot from above and then just also the one from behind and adding the sense of scale and all that stuff. Like I think cinematography wise, they did a great job to like really illustrate this stuff. And then I think they just did a really good overall kind of narrative arc on just picking like short kings and making that the whole thing. So what are your thoughts here?
I love when brands hear the criticism, because that's always been one of their bar's criticisms, is that they're always on the top aisle and in the refrigerated, like they're not in the regular bar area, because they have to be refrigerated because they have natural ingredients. And so I love when brands listen to people and they make fun of it. Like, and this is exactly what that is. They're poking fun at some of the drawbacks that their product has, which are not really drawbacks, because obviously they're exaggerating it. I mean, unless you're a child, everybody can pretty much reach where their bars are at. But it's funny. It's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
To like over exaggerate that and create this whole. That's hilarious. So I'm always a huge fan of brands not taking themselves too seriously and making fun of things and kind of being a little exaggerated. This is fantastic. And to your point, like, not only is it funny, but it's actually really well done. Like this could be a Broadway show. It's really good.
Yeah. And that kind of wraps up the anti-resolution stuff. And I wanted to give a shout out to Tatum Brandt, who actually he did a whole article. There's a bunch of these that he broke down. I think it's like a newsletter where he kind of goes through some of these campaigns. So I think it was really well done. And we have it linked here in case anyone, wants to check those out. But, really, this is just a good showcase of brands trying to stand out, trying to, position themselves to break through the noise, and really it leads us into our next topic. Like the biggest stage where you want to break through and stand out is the Super Bowl, right? So we're going to go through some of the, really we're not going to go through too many ads, because I mean, if you really want to go through some of those, there are plenty to go through, and there's also just, you can take a look at them on your own time. We wanted to showcase some that were maybe less prominently seen, but I think some major call outs here to really understand the scale of Super Bowl and where it's at. The average Super Bowl spot now costs $8 million, but there are some spots, I guess, in peak hours that have reached the $10 million threshold. And that is, without the cost of production, creative, casting, all that stuff. So really, like, at this stage, you are now spending 10 million plus just to be able to create a Super Bowl spot and get in front of, it's a large audience, right? Like last year's, there was 127, almost 128 million viewers. But as we talked about in the past, we know that that audience isn't as locked in as they used to be. Like there's still, you know, people who want to see the ads, but I feel like that number has continued to drop, and the attention being pulled to your phones and to conversations and other things happening is what's kind of diminished the impact. And so we'll see, we'll kind of cover it a little bit, but how do brands adapt to that? And really the key thing is that now they're just rolling it out really early. Like you've been seeing teasers, if not the entire ad, up to 3 weeks before the Super Bowl comes out. So in a sense, that's just these companies kind of justifying like, hey, we're spending 10 million, but let's milk it. Let's make the most and get the most eyeballs so that there isn't this surprise that we're hoping that we bank on, because we know that we might even lose people, not get as many people as we want as a result. So yeah, I feel like it's some of the luster around Super Bowl has lost itself because of those two competing factors: the pulling away of attention from your phones and other people, as well as brands saying, all right, well then we're gonna then spread it out and start promoting it even earlier. So there's less of a surprise. There's less of a thing that you can look forward to. So
yeah, and super important too, and kind of like the back end of this, that's $8 to $10 million to buy a spot. That's not what it's going to take to produce
correct
one of these pieces, or you know, the entire campaign, or the money and ads that you're going to be putting behind it when it comes to social. So like, you know, it's a big number when you start to put everything into what it takes to put together a campaign for the Super Bowl. So that's super important to know.
It has to be big players. It has to be like,
it can only be big players.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. So it's like 10 million is probably going to be maybe 10 to 20% of their yearly budget. So think about that. If you have $100 million marketing budget, then yeah, I guess maybe it makes sense if you want to like do something specific with this kind of awareness level or like introduction level, you know, advertising. But it's just tough for, you know, any kind of like smaller brand. You can do regional spots. I know that there's that as well. It's not like full national. And I believe there are some small local spots that only get shown at a more local level. But a big call out that I read was that last year specifically, the Super Bowl ads in 2025 were the least effective in the last 5 years. So we're starting to see that some brands just they'll literally do all this time and effort to put themselves in front of people and then drop the ball because the ad just wasn't that memorable or impactful. So it's a lot of pressure, honestly, for brands and agencies to have to kind of do this. And I personally know of some people I've worked with that have worked on Super Bowl ads, and it is its own behemoth. But that's why I've always been on the side of like, as much as I love watching the Super Bowl and I've loved watching the ads, I don't necessarily think that I would love to be behind one of these campaigns because of the sheer amount of pressure that you need. And also just me thinking from a effectiveness standpoint, like, man, give me $10 million and I feel like I could spend that in a much more effective way throughout the course of an entire year.
Oh, 100%.
Again, it's to each their own, and brands that are at a certain scale, they're going to choose to do this because they want to make a statement. But yeah, that's kind of like the state of Super Bowl and the ads side of it. Some things to call out as a result of learning from like last year. I mean, there's always humor injected, but I guess it's always like laced in with other ads that are maybe a little bit more serious or a little bit more like motivational or inspirational. This year, you're going to see a lot more of the humor. Humor is going to be at the forefront of it. And so they know that this is an escapism. So you're not trying to like get people when they're watching a sporting event to be like, hey, let me think about something that's really sad and serious. They're gonna lean heavilier into the humor side. And this year we're gonna see the heaviest pharma and health presence ever. So we talked about GLP-1s last time. You're gonna see Novo Nordisk with Ozempic and Wegovy have spots. You're gonna see Ro with their weight loss and their telehealth stuff be out there. There might be regional spots from like Hims and Hers and Eli Lilly and Novartis. There's a lot of from the pharma side that we're going to see. And I haven't looked at the spots. I'm going to try and like stay away from them, honestly. But that's one big trend that you're going to notice in the Super Bowl this year. And then the other big thing is AI and tech going mainstream. Like you're going to see spots from OpenAI, so for ChatGPT, and you're going to see one from Claude, which I've seen already one or two of them. It's kind of crazy because they're taking a direct jab at ChatGPT and really like the general the general AI market. So stay tuned for that one. I think that one's going to be one that's going to get people's attention. And then Meta with their Oakley partnership, how they're going to have like the wearable, but with their Meta AI integrated that you can talk to it and get stuff. So that's something that you're going to see a lot more in this year's. And then again, a continuation of the celebrity overload, like, which is honestly my least favorite, but I get why they do it. They need someone's familiar face on TV so that you could get someone to be like, oh, that's Matthew McConaughey. Oh, that's Ben Affleck. But in reality, I feel like sometimes it's so much that you're just focused on the celebrity and not the brand. Like it kind of detracts from the whole goal of it if you don't do a good job of tying the narrative around them. So I think the one thing that you're going to notice from them specifically is what they call metacasting, which is they're going to be like reenacting or making fun of memes that they have been included in, right? Like, the Ben Affleck meme, you've seen some of these other celebrities be involved in memes. So I think like it's taking like social media and the viral side of it and like bringing it on a big screen and using them in that capacity, which is an interesting thing, almost like what creators would do, social media.
When it comes to the brands and the celebrities, I agree with you. Where I disagree is when brands do it right and they take on more of like a brand ambassador role, like the Matthew McConaughey with Salesforce, and I do that correlation now. Like when I see a Salesforce commercial, even if Matthew McConaughey's not on it, I'm thinking like, oh, Matthew McConaughey, and vice versa. I'm always thinking like when I see Matthew McConaughey now, it's a funny Salesforce commercial. That's what's in my head. And I think like if you do it, and same thing with Ben Affleck and Duncan, if you do it correctly, as a brand, like you start to make that correlation, and then it makes sense, right? Obviously, so as long as that celebrity stays popular and you're able to continue to use them, but yeah, when it comes to other celebrities and just like popping in, like we talked about last year with the Mountain Dew one, like yeah, it was funny, but we only remember it was Mountain Dew because we talked about it because we showcased it, but like there was just a bunch of celebrities making a funny video. Was really that memorable, like brand wise? Is there a brand connection? So yeah, I think that's the only part that I differ on. I think if it's well done and you can really create a connection between the brand and the celebrity, then totally makes sense. It's best of both worlds.
Yeah, and I think that the key thing there is like committing to that long term.
Correct.
Because if you just do that one-off spot, yeah, of course you're going to forget it because it was like one thing, and then in today's media landscape, like you're going to forget about it. But if you're seeing it the next year and then the next year, so like if you can commit to a 2, 3, 4, 5 year kind of plan without there being any kind of hiccups in terms of those agreements, and God forbid one of these celebrities does something that you have to disassociate from them, like that's where you start building that brand affinity and that connection. And I think that for brands at a smaller level, that's the same is true, whether you find a spokesperson or an influencer or creator or whatever the case may be, that's going to be the face or going to speak on behalf of your brand. Like you should commit to some sort of a medium to longer term approach, because otherwise you're just going to be swapping people in. It's a revolving door, and then there's no association being built other than like a fleeting face, someone that's nobody's going to see again.
Yeah, no, you got to be very careful, and not to get into it, but that happened this week with the Tia and David Barr. He was part of the David Barr thing. So, you also have that where you got to be very careful with that.
Sure. No, and Subway with Jared, like that was
wow. Totally.
The thing is that came out so many years after, like they had built.
Well, but he became, that's the opposite though, because he became a celebrity because of Subway.
Correct. Yeah, that's why I was like reframing it like a spokesperson. It could be anyone essentially. So anyone that's smaller mid-tier brands that can't really afford a celebrity, but they want to find someone that could kind of represent their values. It can still happen. Dos Equis,
which he's coming back now.
Yeah, the Dos Equis man is making a comeback. So actually, well, I think we are going to show one here, which is the Anthropic one.
This one's great.
This one
Okay.
is, really, you're going to see here.
Hey, can I get a six-pack quickly?
Perfect. That is a clear and achievable goal. Would you like me to tailor a personalized workout plan?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me personalize this for you. Let's start with your age, weight, and height. Whenever you're ready.
5'7", 23 years old, 140 pounds.
Got it. I'll create a plan that focuses on aesthetic strength training. But confidence isn't just built in the gym. Try Step Boost Max, the insoles that add 1 vertical inch of height and help short kings stand tall.
What?
Use code HeightMaxing10 for big discounts.
What's the difference between me and you? Me and you? Me and you?
So I was hearing the guys from TBPN talk about it, and they had like a mixed review on it because they were like, there's no real call to action other than the awareness at the end that says Claude, keep thinking. There's not like download the app or go here, like nothing specific other than here's the brand and here's our tagline. And it doesn't really say any benefit other than a counter benefit, right? So it's like saying like, we don't have ads. We're not going to get ads, which hopefully they never have to get to a point of running ads, because this will come back and bite them in the ass.
Yeah.
So that's where they got to be careful with this. If they can stay true to their model and not have to run ads on it, then they're good and they can like own that and they could like always refer to it. But they better not they better not come around and start running ads any point in the future, because this will come back and bite them in the ass. I think it's good because it definitely positioned themselves as like the anti ChatGPT and the anti Gemini, because Google's going to run ads on theirs. So I think it's smart from that perspective. I think the tough part is that now it kind of creates a war, right? Like from my understanding, OpenAI has already responded to this. They kind of took a jab right back at them and they said, hey, there's a little bit misleading because we're not going to run ads as you think they are, like embedded and force fed. They're going to be more like display, and they're going to be something that's clearly, it's not going to be just like in line within what they suggest for you. It'll be more of like a sidebar or a banner or something that is clearly defined. That's what they say. But Sam Altman.
But to me, they're already winning. If they have OpenAI, if they have Sam Altman going on X and putting a whole script of how bad this commercial is, they're already winning.
Yeah,
they're already winning the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely. The main thing is that then they came back and they're like, well, we have more users in Texas alone than Claude has it in the entire world. So they're kind of like taking. So now you started this war. So now expect jabs to come back. So sure. I think that's the part where like I hope their PR team, I hope everyone, because before this they were kind of like creating their own lane without creating friction and taking jabs. Now you open the door and now expect to see more of this moving forward. So it's like, I don't know I hope they're ready for this, because that is something that's going to be ongoing. Right.
Yeah.
So again, that's more of like the inner workings and how do you like position yourself in a market as one of the few top people in it. But I think that was just like, it's going to be an ad that people talk about. It's already being talked about. And I think it's clear as to where they're positioning themselves. I'm just kind of shocked because if you see, it also is a departure from their other kind of ads, right? Like this is almost like a new world that they're exploring and going this route. So it's interesting. It's interesting to study this and seeing it all happen live, essentially.
Yeah, you got a ton of players right now, but we were exploring this week a bunch of stuff, and we were talking about like the embedded AI that Notion has, which has really had a come up, and oh yeah, exactly. We're using it. Shout out to Notion.
Yeah,
we're looking for sponsors, and but I envision a world where it's gonna be the Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Like you're going to have the two big players, right, in the AI space. And then what's going to end up happening is you're going to have most of these apps and most of these tools that we use that are going to have embedded applications in them. Whereas like now with the way that we use Notion as an agency and that I use Notion, like I don't necessarily need 2 or 3 different GPTs outside of that to get my day-to-day going. So like we had the discussion today of like, I'm kind of looking for one that's not ChatGPT, honestly, because there's drawbacks. I'm kind of looking for one that's going to be my go-to source outside of Notion, and that's it. And I think a lot of people are going to get there. Whereas now it's a rat race. Now it's like how many, you know, I know people that have 4 or 5 different GPTs, and I'm not talking about the design stuff because that's differently because you know you still got to play with that. But when it comes to like just workflow and research and whatnot. So, you know, you're going to see a lot more of this, of taking jabs, because everybody's trying to get that 1, 2, number 3 position in the market, because in my estimation, there's not going to be that many positions at all.
It's obviously ChatGPT, it's Claude, and it's Gemini. Those are the ones that are really like at the forefront of the top 3 right now. Claude really is the one that's punching up, like, because OpenAI is the clear leader, but Gemini has Google backing it. So it's like going to be, you know, they're going to keep making headwind in that space. So they definitely have to be a little bit more on the forefront. Like they have to be willing to brush up against the realities of a giant and other competitors. So I'm not too mad at them doing this. I'm just like curious to see how they're going to respond to like the barrage of jabs that they'll be getting over time now as a result of opening the door to this kind of criticism or this kind of like back and forth between them. So, so pretty much to wrap it up here, there was also this study on work that kind of said not really just the fact of teasing being a bad thing, but brands that tease very small snippets of their ads, like 6 to 15 seconds online, it's not really effective because you're not giving the full breadth of it. It's almost like either give them the whole thing or don't give them anything, because or just make it something where it's like not even a 6-second teaser, just something where people can kind of like get an idea or be prepared that they're going to be in the Super Bowl. But if you just give them a snippet and they don't get the full context, it's like it doesn't really impact them. So they say like pretty much all or nothing, like deploy something that's like 20 to 40 seconds. And sometimes it's just a 30-second spot. So that means the whole thing. And, you know, that's it. Like that's ultimately, if you really want to squeeze the full thing and not just try and like lead them on and build up this hype cycle, that's what they're learning, at least from the data over the last handful of years. I think it was 6 years
across the board, man. Like everything, you know, you gotta hook these people.
Yeah,
you gotta hook them within the first 3-6 seconds.
Yep. So that wraps up the Super Bowl ad side of things, and I think it's gonna be, even though the last few years haven't been as exciting, I think that there should be at least some spots that should be a little bit more memorable and entertaining this year. But yeah, while brands are spending millions of dollars, fighting for eyeballs, there's also like the counter movement, which is the physical world, right? And that leads us into third spaces and fourth spaces, right? And we talked about this before, but the evolution of the third space, right? You have gyms, you have sports venues, and they're really positioning themselves as third spaces because people want that place where they can work out, they can train, but also they can decompress, they can relax and connect with other people. They're noticing that, there's environments where people just want to be able to show up, even if they don't have a lot of motivation that day, but be able to step into working out if they get that kind of energy. And especially if they're around people and there's an environment that kind of like helps breed that, and you can almost like ease into it, is something that people are looking more towards, and not just like pure hustle culture, like no days off, like, it's more of a reasonable kind of like sustainability perspective that's coming into it. And that's how third spaces and existing venues are starting to reposition themselves, because there's data that now shows Gen Z not only treats it as a fitness thing to get healthy. They treat it as a social experience. Like, this is where they meet people. This is where they reconnect with people. And it's no longer just like clock into the gym, clock out, go home, and don't talk to anyone and keep your head down. People want that social aspect that comes with it. So I know you get a lot of thoughts here. So
yeah, you could charge more too as a business. With things that specifically, I think of one of the gyms that we have here in Clearwater, Rift. Shout out to Rift, and Ben from the beginning has had that kind of mindset of having the sauna, the cold plunge, the wellness aspect to this, which, to your point, A, you keep people in there for longer, but B, you also you get people in there on days that maybe not necessarily they're going to be working out or whatever the case may be, like just sauna or just cold plunge. And it's really like this 360 approach to your wellness in general. And then like you put here, the 4 spaces as well, really good gyms, really good, clubs, if you will. They're also doing, like you're saying, these run clubs and these kind of on the weekend special things. Yeah, we had a gym before we were at Rift, and they would do like kayaking on the weekends and like these type of almost like extracurricular activities outside of the gym that kept you in that loop, kept you in that community, kept you with the like-minded people that you're trying to be around. So yeah, I agree. I think this has always been around, right? Like LA Fitness is considered a club. They've been around for forever.
Yeah.
But I think like the way that businesses are approaching it nowadays, with the onset of just the boom that wellness that is more on longevity, more geared towards like longevity and recovery. That it's not just necessarily pumping iron and running. I think is giving these type of clubs that ability to extend the time that people are in your gym. And obviously it's up to you to be able to take advantage of that. And how are you getting by charging more, but how are you getting them to purchase more, whatever the case may be. Lifetime Fitness is a great example. They're incredible. They have like 3rd, 4th, and 5th space. They have the gym. They've got bar. They've got a coffee shop. They've got like a WeWork style. Obviously that's a whole other kind of realm, but that is what people are looking for the most part. People are looking for something like that where, yeah, they can go, they can spend time, they can jump in the sauna, they can have a good conversation, they can jump in the cold plunge, they can get a workout in. And I think more and more that is in the market, and it'll continue to be that way too. The onset of a Lifetime gym is not something that is a fly-by-night type endeavor. Like that's going to continue to grow, and that space is going to continue to grow. And you're getting on the travel side too. We'll talk about it a little bit more now, but like people are just traveling for this, for wellness. And I think people need to pay attention with the entire wellness space, because it's going to be it already is taking another leap, and it's going to continue to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this concept of 4th spaces is really communities. It's the community layer being built on top of the 3rd spaces. So there are, obviously run clubs. It's not like they necessarily own a venue, but they show up at certain places. Sometimes it's a track. Sometimes it's, just a part of town. We've seen the cold plunge movement and sauna movement, and certain venues will embrace and bring communities in to do that. And so it's like the community layer being built on top of certain spaces, even if it rotates and it's not at the same space all the time, is a big thing. And just like you're seeing it happen everywhere, even like when it comes to yoga and Pilates, there is that side of it where people are really starting to gather and make a whole social experience out of it. And having that kind of hybrid of digital and physical is important, right? Like that's really what builds the long-term loyalty. That is what keeps people coming back, because the concept is that you don't really cancel memberships with your friends. Like if you go to a place where it's your friends, your community, the people that you like gathering with on a daily, weekly basis, you're not going to like quit on them essentially. Like they keep you accountable as well. And there's like a want to come back for that. So again, shout out to certain communities down here. I know the guys from the Herd, they do a run club pretty often down here in Miami. I've seen the Coffee and Chill people host a lot of different events, and there's just a lot going on down here in Miami, but really a lot of different areas around the country where we're seeing this pop up, specifically, I guess, in like more metropolitan areas. But this is a craving across the country that even smaller communities, you'll notice it, are gathering in this manner, because they want a little bit of an escape from their phones too. Like they want something to do and not just have to do it. They've been so isolated. They're like, how do I do this plus meet people or be around people and not just be so isolated? So.
Well, and I think in general, this is what happens when you see like these big the growth that we've had in this country, the big growth that we're having in population and whatnot, and in the cities specifically. Whereas like people, it gets so big that the opposite happens. That now you get these like micro cities, these micro communities, whereas like before, not necessarily does that happen, but again, you look at Miami, how many little micro cities, micro communities are popping up, and this is the same type of concept. People want to connect at the end of the day, and as you start to get away from that with technology, with the growth of cities and communities, people want to be around people, and that's the name of the game,
For sure. So that's pretty much it from the third and fourth spaces side, and it's really about connection beyond the fitness and the health side of it. But really, that wellness thing, we're seeing it creep into travel, and we're seeing like people not just like turn off the wellness switch in their mind when they travel. They're like, what can I do or where can I go that also includes some of these things, so I'm not just like being a slob or just like completely not taking care of myself when I go on vacation. That's fine and all for some people to do, but there's a little bit more of a consciousness that's happening when it comes to wellness travel. And we're seeing it happening with things like even longevity retreats, right? They're saying that it's basically a $10 billion industry, and it's going to continue to grow over time, because you're seeing that tourism is directly being injected with this kind of experience of what can I do to be a little bit healthier? What can I do to have longevity in terms of my age and take care of my body so that I don't fall apart and that I don't have to worry about paying all these medical bills or taking all these pills or doing these things that I'm bedridden. Like, I think people are being a little bit more conscious about that, and they're taking that into account when they travel. JC, I know you have a lot more experience on this front, and what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, twofold. One of them is, I think people in general are starting to realize that traveling for a purpose is a lot more fun than just traveling just to travel. So like you're seeing the onsets of traveling for gastronomy, traveling for wine and wine tours and whatnot, and this falls in line with that as well. Like wellness, people want to travel with a purpose. People want to not just go to a place to just go to a place, but have like a purpose when they get there, a purpose on why they're traveling. And I think more and more that's apparent. And I also think too, just like I think in general, we're as a society starting to learn like what certain things do to us, and how we feel on those things, or when we do those things. And for a long time, I would say specifically in this country, probably, traveling was like this thing where you would just like kind of go crazy and eat whatever you wanted and drink whatever you wanted, and then you would get back and you felt like shit, and you were trying to recover for like 3 or 4 days, and you had to get back into your routine. Whereas like I think people are starting to flip the switch on that. Is like, no, I'm going to travel so that I can get ready to then get back into my day-to-day. Like I want to feel invigorated. I want to feel good when I get back, and almost, not necessarily relaxed in the old style sense, but relaxed in like less stress. I've taken care of my body. I've given my body what it needed, the rest that it needed, and the proper hydration and whatever that it needed, so that I can hit my day-to-day in my life and be a better human, if you will, and more efficient. So I think you're seeing that too. People are just a lot more knowledgeable. There's a lot more education as to like what health and wellness does to us and our body. So yeah, you're gonna continue to see this grow. I've been seeing it in the past couple of years, this wellness travel. You got hotels that are specifically investing in this, like the I think it's the Carry On or the it's the Carry On in Miami, at Miami Beach. And they've had it for a while now. I think like going on 10, 15 years, they've been known as a wellness hotel and a wellness resort. And they cater to this. Their spa is incredible. They have like an 8 to 9 part spa where they have different saunas, steam rooms, cold plunge, rainforest shower. They got a private pool for the wellness area. They've got an amazing gym, like a world-renowned gym. Obviously the massage area and whatnot. They've got that. So I think in general, you're going to see more of this. You're going to see more hotels turn into wellness hotels, and it's going to continue to grow. And I love it. I personally I love to travel like this. I love to travel where I'm eating even better on my vacation, where I'm taking care of my body. I'm resting. I'm recovering because I personally feel better when I come back, and I feel more energized to hit my day-to-day and the ground running. And again, I think more and more people are starting to turn to this. So and listen, at the end of the day, like, we just, as a society and as humans, we have more stress on a day-to-day basis. Like, on our daily routine, we have more stress. We consume the same amount of information and the same amount of news that somebody 50 years ago would have taken in an entire year. We take that in one day. Like, think about the amount of news and the amount of information that we get in on a daily basis. So that obviously is killing our hormones. It's destroying our the way that our body is acting and recovering. And you're going to see more of this. You're going to see people trying to figure out how they can get their wellness, their longevity, their relaxation in these healthy ways.
And I think clearly with millennials getting to the ages of the 30s and 40s and putting themselves in a position where they either have a family or they're a little bit more established and they can spend more of their money on these experiences. This is kind of like that natural trend that we're seeing. Really on the longevity retreat side, it's like this mixture of things. You have like medical diagnostic stuff. You have personalized, routines and skincare and massages and other therapies that get done. They happen many times in, luxury settings. And I think that that's really like the intersection of a lot of things that are happening. New technology, new treatments, traveling to a destination that's inspiring or relaxing, and just blending it all together and allowing you to kind of like decompress and put yourself in a position to feel better. I think an interesting one here is like this whole rage therapy thing. We saw it a while back happen with the rage rooms, right? You go into a spot and you like smash a bunch of things, but now we're seeing it take place in a bunch of different ways too. Like, there's certain places where in major cities people host like scream clubs. Like, they'll go to a mountaintop and they'll just scream their stress out, essentially. Not necessarily something I would find myself doing, but I think some people just need to freaking scream and get it out of their system. So I think that's an interesting kind of approach to it. There's something for everyone. But then there's also things like the same way that there's a rage room, there's like an outdoorsy version of it where you can like split logs and use sledgehammers to smash things and almost be like, a woodworker, essentially. Use some of those older kind of, methods to really like channel your strength and your force to release it out of your body and do something that's more active and outdoors. And I think that these are really cool, different ways that are starting to help people release things that they've bottled up, which I think is a good thing, because it's better that they do this than they go punch someone else or do something that's aggressive and and create problems. So we're seeing that be a part of it. We're obviously seeing like these location kind of approaches with skin and aesthetics. The whole K-beauty, like the Korean beauty trends and the products that are coming out of there are becoming part of these experiences. So you're seeing it, facials, microneedling, all these other routines that are prominent in that country, starting to make its way into other countries, including the U.S. and international travel. So really cool things that you're starting to see make its way into wellness travel. And then the elemental side or the wild side of some of the things that we saw. We talked about cold plunging and saunas. Well, some people are doing glacier dips. They're going out into geothermal pools and hot springs. And so it's like the more natural version. Instead of like a controlled little tub, you're going out and doing it in an environment. There's a scene. There's something that actually you can feel and see outside of like your backyard or that, facility that you're in. It's really cool to see that become how that kind of naturally segued into this part of how people would travel anyway. Like you're going to Iceland and you're going to dive in and be part of that experience. And it's a cool thing that you're seeing it blend together there. And then wellness cruises, like usually you think of cruising, you're like, I'm going to go eat like a slob. I'm going to drink a bunch. I'm just going to like not care. But now you're starting to see this become more of like the wellness side of it being injected into some existing cruise ships and new cruise liners that are coming out. But like Canyon Ranch now runs wellness clinics on Celebrity and Regent cruises. There's other programs that are naturally made in some of these cruises. So I think that you're starting to see that make its way into something that you traditionally see as like just more of an abundance and excess and just a little bit of gluttony really when you would go on these cruise ships. So I think it's interesting seeing like the reframing and kind of like this new shift in some of this travel that is made its way. I don't know if you have any other thoughts here before we do the open floor and kind of wrap up.
No, just that I think the cruises have been kind of on the forefront of this for a minute. Like they've been putting a lot of money into their spas, into their wellness programs, and it's starting to come around now. But yeah, this elemental type of wellness and the traveling for wellness is going to continue to grow, especially with this whole push with longevity and that being at the forefront of a lot of the conversations. So I'm all for it, and I think it would be prudent for businesses that are in this space to be looking into this as a serious extension to their business. Travel agents that are looking for specific niches in how they can market to different demographics. I think if you're in that space, if you're in these spaces, taking this really seriously, because I think this is going to be more often than not the route that people take.
Yeah, and again, it's more of like, even though people are seeing these as quote unquote trends, these are just more like movements that have been happening over time and have now become more and more ingrained in some of the natural behaviors and choices of people, which is everyone at some point wants to travel, to take a break, go somewhere else. But instead of doing these other things that maybe were a little bit less healthy, now it's just being included in that. And wellness and health is not a new thing. It's a matter of the importance in the population that is doing it. And I think that just from millennials downward, you're starting to see just more of a conscious effort to at least, try to be a little bit healthier, try to have wellness be included as opposed to something that you do on the side to recover from all the bad stuff you do. It's more of like, this is your day-to-day like routine. This is part of your lifestyle. It's a lifestyle choice. It's not a fad anymore.
Yeah, health and wellness for a long time was something I did, whereas now it is who I am. And it should be that way, by the way. Like if you really take your health seriously, you should be entrenched in your decisions being aligned with health and wellness and that be part of you. So yeah, agreed.
Yep. Cool. I mean, I don't know if anyone else is left on the stream, but if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. The last thing that I wanted to cover here on the open floor, which is something I just found yesterday, was this idea that, remember we talked about OpenAI doing ads? Well, the average business owner is not going to be able to run this, at least at the beginning, because you need a 200K budget just to start. So it's kind of smart, because that means that they're not going to try and get these fly by night brands to just advertise something that's, you know, shilling a bad service or product or a scam. Like, I'm sure they want to vet and make sure that they got reputable brands that are going to be on their platform, because otherwise it's going to really mess up the whole thing. If you start getting hit with ads by companies that you're like, what is this? Like, so I can imagine that this is a barrier to entry on purpose for them to make sure that they get reputable brands to come on board. And it says that they're supposed to start testing ads as early as tomorrow. So that, which shows that ad by Anthropic is super timely. It's like going to be the day after.
Getting hit with the ads, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if I wonder if OpenAI is going to pull back on it and delay it, or I don't know what. But that's just interesting timing with the whole thing. Which, yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts here.
I think all these platforms, this is the route that all these platforms are going. Like, and you see Amazon doing it, you see Shopify doing it as well. Like, this barrier to entry where there has to be some sort of screening, because what ended up happening was, you know, Amazon was a wild west for a long time, whereas now there's screenings, there's levels that you have to hit to be able to sell on Amazon. And I see a lot of brands, so very smart of them to do so. To your point, you're only going to get brands that are serious about this. You're not going to get fly by night brands. And that's automatically going to build some sort of like trust with the consumer. And yeah, it could be a good long-term play for them. So that's smart. I get it.
Yep. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up today's rundown. You know, stay tuned. In 2 weeks, we'll be back. I'm sure there's a lot that we'll have to cover. The aftermath of the Super Bowl. Who knows what other things are going to happen between now and then. But look, what am I looking forward to in the next 2 weeks? I mean, we have a lot of projects that we're going to be putting our head down and bringing to life. So that's going to be fun from our, you know, personal and professional side of it. But in the market, there's just a lot of things happening, like both on the forefront of technology and also the uncertainty on the economic front and other things happening around the world. So there's always a lot of balls to juggle that you don't know where things are going to land and how it's all going to be settled at the end of the day. So as always, never a dull moment. And I think that we'll have a lot to talk about.
Never a dull moment. I appreciate you getting on. I know we have a lot of stuff. We're swamped right now, which is a good thing, and we're blessed. But yeah, I want to continue to make this a consistent habit, because I really do love coming on here and talking. As far as the market and what I'm looking into and forward to, honestly, I'm my eyes are glued to like the fact checking industry right now, like even more so than ever. I feel like every single day gets worse and worse. People sending me things and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not true at all. And that's completely bogus. And it's going to get worse and worse. So I think my eyes are glued to that industry and that kind of area. I think, ironically enough, I think AI is going to help in being able to, fact check certain things and be able to at least run it through a screening, if you will. But really, that's part of where my eyes are glued to. And then just the Super Bowl, I want to see what's up. I want to see how these ads look and what the numbers look like at the end of the day with the Super Bowl. But yeah, man, excited to put our heads down as well and dive into these projects. We got a couple finishing that are really exciting that we'll present here in the next couple of weeks. And then some new projects that we're getting into. So it's an exciting thing.
A couple final notes there. Like, there's also beyond the ads, like people forget that Duolingo did the whole thing of killing their mascot last year, and that got a lot of attention outside of it. So I'm curious to see if any guerrilla tactics come out of that kind of approach. And then to your point about the AI models and kind of like fact checking, Perplexity just announced that they're doing like a console of models for like their premium tier stuff, where it's like basically we'll use Gemini, Claude, all the different models, and they'll almost like talk to each other and kind of cross check to see like what whatever that question is or whatever that topic that you're discussing, basically give you other perspectives and then blend it into like a final based on what these three said. And you could do it manually. Like you could choose the model, ask it, do the same thing, blah, blah, blah. But now they realize like, why don't we just make it kind of part of our software and make it, baked into the UI. So I think we're going to see more of that stuff. Basically like, all right, you have all this information. It's already used machine learning to kind of distill and source all this stuff. How can we cross-check? How can we double-check? Because people are doing it anyways. The ones that are truly using it, they're going to look at it and be like, that seems off. Can you double-check? And then, all right, well, might as well add that layer already baked in if you know that people are going to start double-checking.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Agreed.
All right, man. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys all for tuning in, and then we'll see you in a couple weeks. Peace.